when is the assignment due, and frequent checks for understanding. Those were the 4 things we were missing for a very high functioning student. For a lower functioning student, we were missing note taking, help with, transcribing information from textbook to paper, very basic functions. So it greatly, the result was that we were having many students come back to our classroom feeling frustrated and unsuccessful, or they were simply just either cutting or not. The attendance and grades were suffering as a result. And social emotionally, because these kids are in a therapy program, we're feeling a lot of anxiety, and to some extent, some students express some neglect because they were used to having that support in the past.
So then tell me about how you identified or like how you went about implementing your inquiry cycle. So what was your selected focus, and then how did you implement it?
So the selective focus was basically how the things that I was primarily going to measure were attendance and academic success, meaning directly correlating to test scores and grades for a quarter.
Right.
So how we went about that was obviously we had our baseline from the first 4 months, and then we took the first quarter of this semester and we compared that to the last quarter of the previous semester without support. Did that answer that?
Yeah. Was there any informal data collection as well, like check-ins with students and just...
A lot of it was actually informal interviews with the students. I actually did interview 10 of the 18 students and did how are you feeling now having support versus not having support? What do you think the advantages are, and would you recommend any changes to our system, and how are you feeling before and how are you feeling now? And the results were almost throughout all the different levels were unanimous in that they preferred having the support. They felt more secure, more safe, and better equipped to be able to maintain in a mainstream class. Primarily on block days, it's our biggest challenges are 2-hour periods instead of 1.
That statement about like feeling safe, I think, is really powerful for the kids, and I'm sure it had an effect on you too. But like that just seems really powerful, like feeling safer in the classroom, and as opposed to just like, yeah, now I know how to do my algebra.
And from my perspective of the overview of Counseling Enriched, a huge reason why they may have landed in our program is because they were not feeling safe, not feeling supported, and it's just too much chaos for somebody that already probably has a lot of chaos going on outside of school.
Right. So, if you would get into some of the specifics of what was the big change that happened.
So the big change had to do with communicating with our local administration and district administration and the supervisors of the companies called PointQuest that are supporting our classroom. So we all had several meetings, and it was a matter of changing some slight wording in the contract to allow them to be able to, for their staff to be able to support in mainstream classes. So that
I didn't realize they actually changed the contract. I thought they just interpreted it differently.
they changed one line in the contract, so that they were able to. I mean, it probably has a lot to do with the admin here for them to be non-district employees and being able to be in the classroom. So it took some there was a lot of moving parts and
Yeah.
a lot of squeaky wheel on my part to get
Yeah.
that. I really felt like it was important to advocate for the students, to get them that support, because there was some pushback of, okay, well, let's deal with this in the off season or the summer and
Come
move
back
forward
next year.
next year. And I really kept pushing, because a good portion of my students are seniors, and
Yeah.
I didn't want their last semester to be struggle, because we were going to wait till the following year.
Well, and it's not a last year. Like, you were barely halfway through the school year when you
Right.
like wanted to make the change.
Right. I started 3 weeks into
Yeah, I
the
remember that.
school year, so
Mhm.
it took September, October, November, and December to meet several meetings and several, even some parent involvement to get some additional support as well.
So I heard you talking about the responses of the students. Did you get any feedback from the paraeducators about how they felt about it? Informal or otherwise?
I didn't have any pushback directly from the staff.
Yeah.
Initially, they seemed willing to go with the students.
You mean initially, like even at the beginning of the
even
school
at the
year?
beginning, because I didn't understand the contract or why
Mhm.
they weren't. So I just, said, "Can you go with so and so to math class?"
Right.
And initially they went,
Right.
and then they were later told, like, we can't do that. So there wasn't a resistance from the staff.
Yeah.
But I've done more check-ins with them to say, hey, how's it going?
Yeah.
How did so and so do today? And I have not received any negative feedback
Good.
from either the staff that's in the trenches with them or upper management.
Have they said anything about like, yeah, I can see like they're going to class more, like they're doing better. So like,
Yes.
Are they noticing a difference?
Yes, and the manager, our on-site manager from Point Quest, has indicated in our IEP meetings and in our staff meetings where we all meet together that it's going very well with the mainstream support.
Well, it sounds like the data that you've collected informally and formally through like the attendance reports, and then also just the attendance reports, sounds like it's been really helpful and beneficial. So, what thoughts have you had about like communicating that data to the district, or have you done so already?
We've communicated some informal data so far with the director of special education and the principals here, and they've received really good feedback about how it's going.
Good.
I am just now putting together the first quarter like data
Sure.
to give to them, and attendance records. So I've been compiling that, and I won't be surprised that they'll like want to. I mean, they'll like the data because it's positive.
Yeah.
The attendance has gone from, and these are averages because some students were going most of the time and some students were going zero, almost zero. But primarily the focus has been on the kids that were almost always refusing to go to mainstream. And maybe we're getting 15% attendance in their mainstream classes. We've gotten those core students of about 5 students up to close to 92% attendance.
Oh my God.
From that, so it's tremendous.
Jesus.
And even the mainstream teachers have commented on how helpful it is.
Wow.
To have that support in there, because a lot of times they would either not come at all or they would come and then leave 5 minutes later because for various reasons, anxiety, stress, fear, all the things we talked about in the beginning. So the mainstream teachers have also commented, and they've even, you may have seen it on like a couple of threads how they can be even helpful with our, some of our other students.
Yeah.
And even though, like, legally, because they're not district employees, they can't do much one-on-one academic support, but they're helping, like, pass out additional papers, or they can do like a little check-in, or so they are feeling some benefit of having them in the classroom as well.
Yeah, and being more part of the classroom, so it becomes less stigmatizing.
Yeah.
I mean, as you're talking, I'm kind of thinking, like, it sounds like you've got some really good informal data, and then also you're collecting the attendance data and putting that together. It sounds like it could be really powerful data if we try putting it into some sort of like a Google form, and then maybe even sending some of those out to like the like creating separate ones, so like one for teachers with just a few basic questions, one for the staff that you're working with going in, and then one for the students to just kind of collect and have that data. Off the record, it's a little unfortunate that like that's data that we would need to collect, but I think that would be that could be really powerful to get. So we could kind of work on that too.
Okay.
It could be easy to put together a few questions.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, I've done some of the Google forms for. I've been playing with them. I'm not kind of a rookie at it, but
yeah,
I did one for college and career with my tutorial class. Like, you know, I did multiple choice. Like, what's your top choice thing to do after high school? You know? Go to community college, go to four-year college, work, or other. You know.
Yeah.
They seem to respond easier with multiple choice.